Jeffrey Epstein survivor Dani Bensky has revealed what she claims happened behind closed doors during a long-awaited meeting with President Donald Trump's acting Attorney General Todd Blanche. And according to her, the conversation quickly turned disrespectful. Speaking to reporters, Bensky alleged Blanche repeatedly cut survivors off, and at one point bluntly told them, "Get to the point." Bensky said survivors had spent nearly 9 months trying to secure the meeting, only to be treated as though they were wasting his time. She claimed Blanche asked, "Can you get to the point already? What are you getting at?" According to Bensky, there was no empathy, no sense of urgency, and no recognition that he was dealing with survivors connected to what she described as one of the largest sex trafficking rings in U.S. history. She said instead of addressing their concerns, the conversation felt dismissive. Bensky claimed Blanche's attitude boiled down to one message: "You have an Epstein problem." Bensky told reporters on Wednesday. The Department of Justice has strongly pushed back against that account. A DOJ official told the Daily Beast the allegation is unequivocally false, insisting Blanche never made those remarks. The White House also defended him. Spokeswoman Abigail Jackson said Todd Blanche has done an excellent job as acting Attorney General and will continue doing so as Attorney General. But Bensky says the meeting left survivors with more frustration than answers. Republican Senator Thom Tillis, who sits on the Senate Judiciary Committee, had only agreed to support Blanche's nomination after Blanche promised to meet with Epstein's victims. According to Bensky, that meeting failed to deliver. She said she doesn't think the meeting Senator Tillis had in mind was the meeting they actually got. Instead, she described it as condescending, filled with circular conversations, arguments over semantics, and very little discussion about the issues survivors had come to raise. Bensky said everyone walked away empty-handed, no answers about accountability, no meaningful discussion, and no real progress. When Senator Tillis asked Todd Blanche to meet with survivors, I don't think that he had the meeting in mind that we got. The meeting was very condescending. It was a lot of talking in circles. It was a lot of arguing semantics and not a lot of actually getting to the core points. Basically, we walked away with absolutely no answers, and it felt like a very no-win situation, Bensky told reporters on Wednesday. The controversy has now spilled onto Capitol Hill. On Wednesday, both Senators Thom Tillis and Texas Senator John Cornyn, who also serves on the Senate Judiciary Committee, threatened to block Blanche's nomination as Attorney General. The committee is expected to vote on whether to advance his nomination today. This latest revelation comes just days after Todd Blanche was already facing intense criticism over that same meeting. Epstein survivors previously described the closed-door discussion as demoralizing, accusing Blanche of dodging questions. Here's everything survivors said happened behind those closed doors and why the backlash is only getting louder.
President Donald Trump's pick to permanently lead the Department of Justice is facing intense criticism after survivors connected to Jeffrey Epstein described their long-awaited meeting with him as demoralizing. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche met with several survivors this week. As per Daily Beast, the meeting occurred only after Republican Senator Thom Tillis reportedly made it clear that the meeting was a condition for securing his vote during Blanche's Senate confirmation process. According to survivor Dani Bensky, Blanche had ignored survivors for the past 8 months, but quickly agreed to meet once his confirmation was at stake. However, instead of providing answers, survivors say they left the room feeling even more frustrated. Speaking to MSNBC's The Weeknight, survivor Liz Stein said, quote, "The meeting had absolutely nothing to do with us and everything to do with Todd Blanche checking a box so he could get a promotion." Stein added that while survivors had gone into the meeting with very low expectations, they never expected to walk away feeling, quote, demoralized. She said Blanche repeatedly avoided direct questions, offered no transparent answers, and made no concrete commitments about following up on investigative leads. According to Stein, he also failed to provide clear explanations regarding Ghislaine Maxwell's prison transfer or address concerns over heavily redacted documents tied to the case. Maxwell, who was serving a 20-year prison sentence, was transferred last year from a low-security prison in Florida to a minimum-security federal prison camp in Texas, a move that has continued to draw scrutiny. Stein also revealed that Blanche suggested survivors should continue speaking with the FBI before he would meet with them again. Her response was blunt. She said, quote, "We've already been working with the FBI for the past 30 years. Stein accused the Justice Department of treating survivors like political pawns rather than victims deserving answers. She went on to say, quote, "We're victims of trafficking, and the fact that our Department of Justice will not take that seriously should concern every American." And this comes as the Trump administration continues to face mounting criticism over its handling of the Epstein files, while Vice President J.D. Vance has also landed in the spotlight after making fresh admissions about the case during a recent podcast interview. Here's what Vance said and why those remarks are now fueling even more controversy. In a rare admission that's turning heads across Washington, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance has acknowledged that the Trump administration mishandled the release of the Jeffrey Epstein files. Speaking during a lengthy appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience, Vance admitted the administration made mistakes, not necessarily with the investigation itself, but with how it communicated and released the documents to the public. The comments come after weeks of backlash over redactions, confusion surrounding victim identities, and renewed conspiracy theories about Epstein's powerful associates. Here's everything Vance said and why his remarks are making headlines. During the interview with Joe Rogan, Vance was asked directly about the controversy surrounding the Epstein files. Instead of defending every aspect of the administration's handling, the Vice President of the United States offered a surprisingly candid response. "If people want to say we mishandled the Epstein release, guilty," Vance admitted. "We did mishandle it, especially the communications of it," he added. Vance explained that, in hindsight, the administration should have released the material much sooner. According to Trump's VP, officials needed time to review thousands of pages of records, identify victims, and make legally required redactions. But he believes the overall process took too long. "I think we should have just dropped everything at the very beginning," Vance said. He acknowledged that while reviewing sensitive documents inevitably takes time, the public should have received information far earlier than it did. Joe Rogan then raised one of the biggest criticisms surrounding the Epstein files, the redactions. Many critics argued that the document release appeared inconsistent. Some alleged victims' names became public, while certain names believed to belong to alleged associates or co-conspirators remained blacked out. The decision triggered outrage across social media. Vance attempted to explain why those decisions may have been more complicated than they appeared. According to him, investigators sometimes face difficulty distinguishing between victim and co-conspirator. "I've looked into this," Vance explained. "My understanding is that it is sometimes hard to draw a distinction between victim and co-conspirator." He suggested that some individuals who were originally exploited by Epstein may later have helped recruit additional victims. Because of that complexity, the Department of Justice attempted to balance transparency with protecting victims. What DOJ tried to do, Vance said, is make that judgment as best they could and release as much as possible. Perhaps the most striking moment of the interview came when Vance discussed conspiracy theories surrounding Epstein. The vice president admitted he personally believes there is still a larger, unanswered story. "I would go to my deathbed believing there is a story there," Vance told Rogan. However, he was equally clear about one important point. He said he has not seen evidence proving any broader conspiracy, and I promise you there's not some document, at least that I'm hiding, that allows us to prove exactly what was going on. His comments appear to acknowledge widespread public suspicion while also pushing back against claims that the administration is secretly withholding definitive proof. Vance has publicly discussed the Epstein case before. During a June appearance on The View, he admitted he had long been fascinated by the unanswered questions surrounding Epstein. "I was frankly kind of a conspiracy theorist on the Epstein stuff," Vance admitted. He said he found it deeply troubling that Epstein, a convicted sex offender, maintained relationships with numerous wealthy and influential figures,